welcome to tonight's episode of the Group Therapy Podcast. Tonight, I have wrestling promoter Thomas Williams. He's from W.A.R. Here in Ohio. Thomas, tell us a little bit about yourself.
My name is Thomas Williams. I actually run, it's called Wrestling and Respect, but also known as W.A.R. Wrestling. Been doing it for almost 25 years and 18 years as a promoter in Northwest Ohio, actually the home of Al Snow, Lima, Ohio area. So yeah, I mean, I'm the owner, promoter, and the booker of it. So I kind of get the whole business side of it behind the scenes. I used to be a manager. We was a manager for a tag team called Delivery Inc., which was Dexter Dementia and Stamp Lickage. Kind of going real old school. Both of those guys are, 20 some years into professional wrestling. Both of them are semi-retired now. So then I got involved with the behind the scenes stuff. Basically 2003, basically, is when we started W.A.R. Wrestling. So,
like I said, you're out of Lima, the home of Al Snow.
Yep.
I my fun thing is I think it's like 1995-ish, maybe. I'm not 100% on the dates because that gets a little blurry when you go back to my early 20s.
Right.
I tried out for Al Snow's school at one point, and
body slammers.
Yeah,
Yep, that's exactly where I went. So in 1997.
Yeah,
so, yep.
Probably about the same time. I was at that time. I was really just a tiny dude, man. I weighed like 135 pounds, soaking wet, holding a brick. And they wanted, for my size, I'd have had to have been a high flyer. But I came out of a bit of a judo and a keto background at that point, and I was like, man, I can wrestle people down the ground and hurt them, really. And it just kind of like, no, we want you to be a high flyer. So I just did all the
the ground and pound. I was gonna say the ground and pound wasn't relevant back then. You know what I mean? 135-pound guy in professional wrestling, no matter how much of a badass you was, the fans wouldn't have bought it. You know what I mean? They're gonna be, it wouldn't have been like, hey, Rey Mysterio Jr. is taking out the Giant. You know what I mean? Like, so I get it. I mean, it's just it's a different time and a different era. But yeah, I totally get that. Being on the smaller side back then, because even when I broke into wrestling, like I said, in 1997, everybody was bigger than life. You know what I mean? Everybody was, 6'1", 6'2", 220, 230 pounds. We had guys on the shows that were, 6'7", 350, 6'5", 300. Everybody was bigger than life. There wasn't really, the smaller statured guys weren't, they were either a ring interviewer or a referee or something along those lines. There wasn't really spots open for guys. I mean, even when I started, the guy that I broke into the business with, he was about 5'10" and about 270 or whatever, and he was considered one of the smaller guys.
Yeah, it's just funny seeing how much it has changed over the years. I mean, I remember when I met like Rey Mysterio Jr. when WCW came to Troy or Dayton, Ohio, and I'm standing, and I'm like, he's like here on me, and I'm like, how did you become anything? And then I started watching Mexican wrestling. I was like, oh, that explains it all. So
yeah, I mean, because down there it's more the styles are different. You know what I mean? And that's the biggest thing that I've noticed, even doing it as long as I've done it. When I broke in, we might have had maybe one or two matches that was the smaller statured guys, and now if you're over 6 foot and over 200 pounds, you're considered a heavyweight now. Most of these guys are 5'9", 5'10", 5'11", 180, 190 pounds. So it's just the styles are different. The era of wrestling is different. I take the good and the bad with it. I mean, I'll be honest with you. And I know I get a lot of heat from other people in the business, but I can't stand the small guys. I'll be honest with you. You know, if I want to see a fight, quote unquote, a fight, I want to see two guys that are Brahma Bulls in the middle of the ring, rock'em sock'em robots, knocking the shit out of each other. You know, why do you watch a bar fight or whatever that's two big burly guys in a bar? Because you want to see the other guy knock out the other guy. No one cares about two, 130-pound guys, laying on the ground. I mean, so it's just a different era. I mean, like we just had a show last night, we had a couple guys that are 250, 260, and they brought it, and just the vibe and the crowd noise and all that was so much different than some of the other matches that had the smaller statured guys on it. So yeah, I mean, we're in a little bit of a bubble here in Lima. I tell people this all the time. I would say 95% of our crowd are WWE fans. They don't know the difference between what we do and what they see the WWE. They don't even know about a Ring of Honor or an Impact or anything like that. I mean, like AEW is the new hot thing right now. And I'll give you a good example about that. My dad's a diehard wrestling fan. He's been a fan probably for over 50 years. And he started watching the AEW, and he was like, the only people that I know are the ones that are ex-WWE guys. He's like, I don't know any of these other guys. I have no emotional connection to any of these guys. He's like, where did they come from? You know what I mean? Like, why are they on AEW? That to me is the ultimate thing, with the casual wrestling fan or whatever, I mean, emotions sell tickets. And, if a lifelong wrestling fan like my dad has no connection to, like say the super indie guys that are in AEW, he's like, they throw 15,000 super kicks, and they kick out of everything. You know what I mean? So, it's hard for me to explain that to someone that is just a genuine wrestling fan. You know what I mean? He don't know none of the behind the scenes stuff. He doesn't know any of the super indie smart mark stuff. He don't know any of that stuff. So it's interesting. It's interesting getting that feedback from someone like him who, even when they used to come to our shows, I never smartened them up to actually how wrestling and stuff worked. And I wanted them to have that general emotional connection. You know what I mean? Like I can give you a good example. We had a wrestler by the name of Casey Thunder. And his tag partner was Sean Hernandez over in Japan. And this dude, he looked the part, he bald, tan, built, whatever. Well, he spit up in the crowd one time or whatever, and landed on my dad. And my dad legit was trying to fist fight Casey Thunder. You know what I mean? But I never smartened them up. I never smartened my fans up to how wrestling works. And I wanted them to have that general reaction of, hey, I hate this guy. Hey, I love this guy. And so, yeah, I mean, that's the biggest thing. I tell people, Lima's a little bit of a bubble as far as the casual fans. We've built our guys up over the years to be stars. And I tell a lot of guys that come in for our shows, our fans see no difference in the guys that we use and the guys that are on Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night, on TV. These absolutely see no difference in the talent. So a lot of guys like coming and working for us for that aspect. Like I said, we had a show last night, even during the pandemic. It's been really, really rough. I'll be honest with you, on promoting shows during the pandemic. So now it's like, it's all like a blessing to get, 250, 300 people, when normally we were drawing 500 or 600 on an average day. Now it's like, we got 250 coming tonight. Let's count our blessings, But yeah, we had a good show last night. I actually haven't even been to bed since the show.
Yes.
So, I when you sent me the link, I told my wife, I said, oh crap. I was like, I got that interview today or whatever, she was like, all right, go to the office. So that's what I did. I got on the link, and, like I said, I appreciate you wanting me to do it.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
That sort of thing.
Me and my buddies, we're pretty good wrestling fans. I kind of, I'm not gonna lie, when the pandemic hit, I kind of got out of it for a bit. The whole wrestling in front of nobody, it just sort of was like, nah. And I kind of got out of it. I'm still not completely back into it. I still go see as much. I want to go see indie local wrestling as much as I can when I can, but
Right.
I like it like you. I
Right.
own my own business, so trying to get away from my
Yep.
own business is hard to do. I finally got to go over to Indiana a few months ago for one of Ian Rotten shows. It was the first time I've ever been there,
Okay.
and I was like, oh, at least I got something. I got to go see something, and it was kind of fun being
Right.
able to actually go see wrestling again. I every time, like I said, we keep trying to get up to yours. My problem is that I close my shop on Saturdays at 8 o'clock, and you I think start at 7. And
Yep. Yep.
now I got my son. I'm getting him trained to take over my shop when I'm not there. So now I can go, okay, Joe, you're running the shop. I can get my buddies. We're going.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. I mean, it's
Yeah.
hard. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I totally get it. You know, like I said, you know, one of my big sponsors is a independent record store, and you know, he's always like, "Hey, I love to, you know, come out, hang out, you know, support the show, this, that, and the other." He's like, "But I literally close at 8 o'clock," you know, and you know, there's times where we don't even pick the ticket money up because he's a ticket outlet for us. We don't even pick the ticket money up till the next day because he just can't get out of the shop, or we can't get there to pick it up prior to when the show starts. So I totally get it and understand, you know, and that's the biggest thing I think, you know, a lot of people need to understand. You had talked about going to shows, you know, live shows, you know, I personally will tell you this, during the pandemic, we do a lot of charity work and we do a lot of fairs and festivals.
Yeah.
And we lost $45,000 during the pandemic from basically March. Well, I think we ran in May. It might have been March. The first part of March was the last show we ran, and we didn't run again until like November. And so from, you know, January, February, or basically, you know, all the rest of March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, you know, we didn't have no fairs and festivals and all that. And as a company, we lost about $45,000 during all that. So I totally get it. You know, I totally get, you know, trying to support the little mom and pop places, and that sort of thing, because, you know, that's the lifeblood. And even going back to doing live shows, you know, like we don't even have any restrictions right now. Like when we first started, we had 11 pages of rules, regulations, and restrictions we had to go by just for opportunity to run a show. We don't have any right now, but my take on that is, you know, we're still socially distanced. We're still, you know, we're highly suggesting the fans wear masks. I would say probably 95% of my staff and or my wrestlers are fully vaccinated. You know, so, you know, we try to lead by example. Like I said, even last night, the show that we ran, we still socially distanced fans, you know, and the reason why I say that is because, you know, I, as a business owner, wouldn't want that on my conscience that we ran a public event and someone got COVID from it. You know, I got friends that have, you know, their family members have passed away from it. You know, it's a real thing. And, you know, not to get into a political debate, but that's my one big thing that really bugs me about all this is people wanted to turn it into a political debate. And it doesn't matter on what side of the coin you're on. You know, it's changed our lives. The new norm is the new norm. And, you know, I just wanted, the reason why we came back to running shows was strictly because of our fans wanted a new, you know, wanted normal. You know, they wanted a sense of, you know, like in this area, we've ran shows for 18 years, pretty much monthly. And then all of a sudden it's not there. And even the mental part, from a wrestler standpoint, you know, like wrestling is their escape from day-to-day life, day-to-day, you know, struggles. And I'll be honest with you, I literally had to talk about, I'd say 2 or 3 of our wrestlers off of a ledge, so to speak, like where they just couldn't deal with normal life. You know, I'm not saying like they were suicidal or anything like that, but it's just the fact that they were really, really struggling on the mental side of it because the wrestling was their escape. You know, they knew that they had a, you know, a booking on Saturday and Sunday, and, you know, Monday through Friday was their normal grind with their family. And, you know, it's going to be, you know, stress But, when Saturday and Sunday rolled around, boom, they're back to being bigger than life. They're back to being a superhero, so the pandemic thing has definitely changed the way we do things. Like I said, even last night, we social distance fans because, let's just say you have a fan come in and you set a stranger next to them. I would be very, very uncomfortable sitting in a spot in a chair right next to a guy that's literally asses and elbows next to you.
Oh, yeah.
And he doesn't have a mask on, or you don't know if he's, sick. So yeah, we've socially distanced fans from since we came back in last November. We've socially distanced fans, through all the shows or whatever. And we got a big enough building where we can do that. The building where we run in is actually an indoor soccer arena, and it's 12,000 square feet. So, we can spread out those 200 or 300, 400 fans. We can spread them out, and we haven't had any issues. Like I said, my staff takes it very serious. We still wipe down the ring. My locker room is the whole length of the soccer field, basically 143 feet by 20 feet that's our locker room. Our locker room is basically that big, so I can socially distance everybody through it. And what we do is we run black netting the whole length of one side of the field, and the guys are directly behind that or whatever. And the way we can spread everybody out, because I don't want, anything like that to happen on my watch, So we've been very, very, cautious of running shows, and that sort of thing. And me and my wife are fully vaccinated. It's like I tell people, I can't expect you to follow the rules and regulations if I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what we're fully vaccinated. Do I agree with everything? No. The first one to tell you, I'm not politically correct on all this either, but we did what we had to do. Like I said, that's one of the main reasons why we came back to running shows. Just we wanted a sense of normal. When you get something in your blood for 25 years like me, and you've ran monthly shows for 18 years, you don't really know any different. You know what I mean? You're just going about your way. And, the big thing with me, our big regret as a company during the pandemic was we do a lot of charity work, like a lot of charity work. And when we had all the restrictions and stuff, we couldn't donate tickets. We couldn't donate tickets to the local MRDD or Big Brothers Big Sisters or anything like that, because it took away from our attendance, the restriction of attendance. When we first came back, we had like 15% capacity. You know what I mean? Like we literally almost had to run in the not the venue we got now, but our old venue. We would have literally had to run 2 shows on the same day, just a show to pay the bills. You know what I mean? Like, because they went by the capacity of the building. So if your building held 500 people, you was only allowed to have 15% of that. So yeah, it's been crazy. Like I said, we've had the temperature checks on all the staff and paperwork on all the staff and wrestlers and the whole shebang. And but we still plugged away. And like I said, as a company, we just came back only for a sense of normal. You know what I mean? That's, and a lot of people are still struggling. I you said you own a comic book store and all that. We have one up here in Lima, and I've talked to him, and he's like, man, this is just rough. You know what I mean? So how's things been down your way?
Actually, sales have been pretty good. Because I get a lot of people that just come in, get, and go. We run magic events and stuff like that, and our events are lighter. When we would have, say 25 people and, 10 or 12 show up, stuff like that, because people just come in, get their stuff and leave instead of hanging out and playing. I worried because when we were told, because I ran my shop curbside. So I was letting people order stuff from me, tell me what they want. They'd call, I'd run their card, run it out to them. They weren't allowed to come in the store. Then I was told I wasn't allowed to do that. So then I was doing deliveries. Then I was told that I was supposed to close my store, period. So I was like, okay. So I just went in. I was there 2 hours a day, just doing stock work and rearranging shelves, cleaning, getting there. I'm like, this is going to be all completely 100% ready when I reopen. And then I had one of my friends, he does eBay. So I was like, all right, I was like, here's stuff, just throw this stuff in there. I want this cleaned out of my store. It's like, just start throwing it up on eBay. So I was making my money that way, and I was making my money this way. And the thing was, you know, where people were getting unemployment, I didn't get unemployment for 3 months. And then I got that check that they give you for being a small business owner. They give you X amount of what you would have made during that time. And I got that, which was great, which helped, but it was still, the whole thing is that, you know, there's, you know, from March till I think June or July, just really nothing, you know, very little sales. And then we started picking back up because people started coming back in, grabbing stuff and going. So at least I still got that, my in-store.
Right. Well, that's what I was going to say, because, you know, even like in our case, when I mentioned that we lost the $45,000, you know, the big thing with us is, you know, that was a legit $45,000 loss to the thing, because we actually made a mistake, and we didn't issue all of our wrestlers 1099s. So we didn't have a paper trail. So that $45,000 loss was legit a $45,000 loss for the company, because we didn't have a paper trail to get all the loans, to do all that, you know. And the thing about it it was just a complete oversight, you know what I mean, of the way, you know, because no one's going to think that we're going to be hit a pandemic and the whole world's going to change. You know, we've since changed that or whatever. But, you know, that's the thing I tell people, you know, like you were saying about, look at all the red tape you had to go through just to survive.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and that's the big thing with a lot of people, you know, and small business owners and, you know, the mom and pop places and all of that. You know, me and my wife just had this conversation the other day, you know, like, we don't try to eat at the chains. We don't eat all that, because guess what? You know, that's not what's going to help the local economy come back, you know. And, you know, I actually got a personal friend right now that he's legit making more money off the government right now than what he had when he was working his regular job. You know, he hasn't had a job in a year.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so it's kind of like, you know, and the thing is, you know, like like you were saying in your, you know, what you went through, like, just to try to survive and just to try to, you know, make it to where, you know, you cater to your customers or whatever. But it's been tough, man, all the way around for everybody, you know. And that's I like talking to other people and getting their perspective on things, because, you know, like I said, in our case, you know, we made an honest business mistake, and it cost us 45 grand. And, you know, everybody's like, well, what about you get this and you get that? I'm like, no, because you got to have a paper trail. You got to do this, you got to do that, you know. And lesson learned, which is fine. But yeah, I mean, you know, I actually just talked to one of my pizza places here in town yesterday, and we get pizzas from them every wrestling show, and she's been a sponsor of mine for 15 years. And she said, hey, can you do me a favor? And I said, what's that? She was like, can you have somebody pick these pizzas up? She's like, I don't have a delivery driver tonight. She said, you know, she does catering and stuff on the side. And she's like, me and my boyfriend are at a catering job, and I had staffed the pizza place with 7 people, and 3 of those people called off. So they're trying to staff this, you know, pizza place on a Saturday night with 1 adult and 3 teenagers, and it's their first job. Ooh. You know. And she was like, I don't know how we're going to survive. She's like, if things don't change and people get back to work and this, that, and the other, she was like, we're going to have to close up shop, you know. And this is all this lady's done. Knows for the last 20 years is pizza was her business, you know. So yeah, it's just it's very, very fascinating to talk to small mom and pop places and talk to people like you and all that, to see exactly what we went through. Like you said, you did curbside and you did all these sort of things. Did you switch over your business more or less to doing online?
Kinda. I had done Amazon and stuff, but I started running into issues with that about what I could and couldn't sell on Amazon. And eBay just got to be a big hassle, but I got a guy who takes care of that for me. You know, I was sitting there, I just like, okay, you know, we didn't get any product in because product got ground to a halt. So there was no comic books coming in. There was no new magic products coming in, no new gaming stuff coming in. So basically what I was doing was I was going out and trying to find collections to buy just so I could have incoming new product. And then I would go,
Right.
hey,
And
look,
then
you know, I would
yeah.
tell people, hey, I got all these new books, and people go, oh, do you have this, this, and this? Yes, I have this. And I'm like, all right, cool. And
Yeah.
then I did a lot of Facebook sales and did a lot that way, and was able to move a lot of product that way. So, you know,
And isn't it weird how when you shift certain things or you get out of your norm, where it's just kind of like, man, you know, because that's the biggest thing with us, you know, like we just had this conversation last night at the wrestling show. You know, a lot of the things that we've done on the promoting side the last 18 years, they're not viable now. You know what I mean? Like social media and all that stuff everything seems to be shifting towards that or whatever. And I struggled with it. I'll be honest with you. I struggled with it or whatever. I need to get, you know, I'm a little bit more old school in my thinking. And, you know, I got a PR girl, and I tell her all the time, I'm like, you know, you need to get me up to speed on stuff, or we need to get somebody on our staff that's more hip to the social, you know, social media and all that, because I'm more or less just old school ground and pound and, you know, word of mouth and posters and flyers.
yep.
And, you know, those days are almost done. I mean, I hate saying it that way, but it's almost done. Everything's going towards the social media and the viral and all those sort of things or whatever, you know? So, but yeah, man, like I said, I appreciate you calling, you know, wanting to do the interview and ask wrestling stuff and, you know, pop culture stuff and all of that, you know? So, you know, to me, it lets people know that, you know, I'm not just some big dumb der or whatever, you know, that I'm human, and, you know, I have a business sense, and, you know, it just so happens that professional wrestling or whatever is my passion. And, you know, the good thing about what we do here in Lima, we've turned that passion into being able to give back. You know, that's what I said earlier about Lima being in a bubble. You know, over the last 18 years, me and my wife have actually donated over $500,000 back to the local communities just through charity work or whatever. You know, the Veterans of Food Pantry and Big Brothers Big Sisters and places like that. You know, we've donated almost $500,000 back to them, either financially or tickets or fundraisers and stuff like that. You know, been quite a few years ago, but we did a charity bowling event, and all the money for it or whatever, and through W.A.R Wrestling, it bought a semi-truckload of food for the Veterans Food Pantry.
Nice.
You know, so, you know, that's kind of, you know, it's a labor of love, but it's turned into more of a passion project or whatever, because we know it helps this area and this community. You know, and I'm originally from this area, so I try to give back as much as we can. Me and my wife both graduated from the inner city schools, Lima Senior, and you know, we try to do as much charity work as we can. And that's, like I told you earlier, that's one thing that's really hurt us on the charity side of things or whatever, is because we're still, you know, limited to a degree. And, you know, a lot of the people that we cater to through, you know, like MRDD and stuff like that, you know, they have pre-existing conditions, and, you know, they're worried about catching a cold, and, you know, or, you know, worse. So yeah, it's been a trying time all the way around for, you know, everybody or whatever this way. So
I completely agree. We do a comic book show here in town, here in Piqua. I had to rearrange some stuff, but we always donated every year, from everything from you know, you bring in a canned good, you get a discount to get in the door, or a percentage of the door goes to this. We even did for the No Kill Animal Shelter. We've done it for the food bank. We've done it for, you know, all these local charities. I couldn't tell you to this day how much I've donated, because I just usually, at the end of the day, we figure up the money. We're like, okay, this is their money, and I just drop it off. The last time I got to do the food bank, I was walked in. I'm like, I need to talk to whoever's in charge. And the lady's like, oh, she goes, we'll hook you up and we'll get you some food and stuff. I'm like, no, here you go. And I just handed her a wad of money. It's like, there you go, buy what you need. And she's like, well, who do I, you know, say this? Is like, just tell them that Piqua Comic Con gives them, you know. And she's like, okay. I was like, so we just walked out, and you know, we've done a lot of that, and I have,
and it's tough. I was gonna say, and it's tough. It's tough right now to be able to do that, because you're trying to survive yourself.
Yep. I've donated. I can't donate as much, but I've donated like books to literacy programs and stuff like that, because at least I can do that even when I'm slow. I can go in my back room. I can pull some junk,
Yep.
comic books and give them to kids for
Absolutely.
literacy and stuff. So I can still do something.
Yep.
So,
yeah, I mean, that's the whole thing is you're turning your passion into something that's helping. I mean, we just had a show 2 weekends ago down in Coldwater, Ohio, and it was a little boy who has leukemia, and the family hit us up and said, "Hey, we love pro wrestling. We want to do a fundraiser. Can you help?" And what we do is we normally go out into the public, and we get sponsors or whatever to cover the show and pay all the wrestlers and staff and this, that, and the other. And we're very fortunate in that community down there. We did two other charity shows prior to this. One was for a little girl who had cancer, and the other one was for a teenage boy that took a bad hit playing football, and he was paralyzed from the waist down.
ooh.
And so what we did was, it's kind of funny, like the very first show we did for the cancer, like the school, we had to jump through all the red tape, and it was like pretty much sign my name over in blood, type thing, because it's pro wrestling,
Yeah.
But it was kind of cool because at the end of the night, after we paid all the bills and everything for the show or whatever, we gave that family over $8,000 for one night. And then we got an opportunity to do the second one, which was the teenage boy that took the bad hit after paying all the bills or whatever. And they were a little bit more lax. The school and sponsors and stuff was a little bit more lax because we had proven ourselves. We gave that family $6,000. So we got an opportunity to do this one show 2 weeks ago. And even during these economic times, like we went out and we got sponsors to cover the show and this, that, and the other. And with all the pledges and all the people that donated or whatever, we gave that family over $5,000. And that's a great feeling, knowing even during these times or whatever that you can turn a labor of love, which to me is pro wrestling, and you can help out that family. I mean, they literally get $5,000 cash that night. I mean, we literally count out all the money and we present it to them right there and then or whatever, and it's it's ironic to see their face when you hand them, $5,000 in cash, or $6,000 or $8,000. But, we've just turned that labor of love, like I said, of pro wrestling into being able to help. And that's kind of where our mind is right now. Like I said, from the beginning, we do a lot of charity work in the area, and, we're good at what we do. I have an incredible staff. And we just make sure it gets done. So hearing you being able to help other charities down in your area and stuff like that, to me that's an awesome thing.
Thank you. We try, and I'm good to hear you guys trying up there and kicking butt. You guys are really kind of lucky up there. I don't know of many wrestling. I mean, Pickwick gets the very end of some Dayton, but there's a lot of organizations down in Dayton. You guys get pretty much, I think from Sydney on up to, I don't know if there's anybody up north past you guys. Is
Toledo.
Toledo's
Toledo.
next? I thought so.
Toledo. Yeah, there's a couple promotions up in the Toledo area. I'm actually helping one of them right now. It's a startup company. But yeah, I mean, we're very, very fortunate, and I don't know if it's just a matter of we've established ourselves over the years or whatever. We've had a couple fly-by-night companies come in, and the typical politics of pro wrestling. They try to run in the same building as us, and they're tearing down our posters and our flyers, and all that BS that you deal with or whatever. But I tell people all the time, we've stood the test of time for a reason, and I think it has more to do with just what you see is what you get with us. Is if our name's on the marquee, it's straight in your face. Given 100%, and we're not going to take anything less than that. And we bring in good quality staff, staff and wrestlers, and we present ourselves in a very, very professional manner. And like I said, we are definitely in a bubble. I mean, I think I would dare say to the east of us, the next closest promotion would be Marion, Ohio. North would be the Toledo area, and south would basically be DCW, Dynamic Championship Wrestling. which is like you said, Sydney, Troy, Pickle area. To the west of us would be, there's a couple upstarts in the Fort Wayne area. But yeah, I mean, other than that, you know, we are definitely in a bubble, you know, for doing the shows and stuff.
I gotta do one with Aaron Williams. You know Aaron?
Yep.
Yeah,
I just had him on my show yesterday.
yeah. I'm supposed to do one with Aaron. Me and him just got to have time. I've known Aaron for a few years back now, and every time we're doing it, I'm like, I'll get an interview with you, and we're like, how about Sunday? Oh, I can't. I gotta go wrestle Sunday. Okay. How about this Sunday? Okay. Well, no, I got a show going on that Sunday too. So I was like, man, no, take all the paying bookings you can. I was like, I'll always be here.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
I agree. Yep.
The funny part about it is during the pandemic, I got an offer. I had a guy trying to sell me a ring, and it was the one time I think my wife finally had to look at me and go, no, you don't need that. She goes, you do not need a wrestling ring.
It's funny you say that because I was going to say, it's funny you say that because every time I tease my wife, you know, granted, we've been together since she was 16 and I was 17. And I tell her all the time, I'm like, hey, baby, I'm going to buy you a new ring. And it just isn't the ring that you think it is. You know, so I totally get that. You know what I mean? Like, you know, as you know, we have an 18 foot by 18 foot all steel ring. And I tease her all the time. I'm like, oh, baby, we got to improve the ring. You know, she's thinking, oh, I'm getting a new band. I'm like, no, you're getting new aprons and a new turnbuckle pads and new canvas. So yeah, I get it. I understand.
And my we were sitting there talking, she goes, I was like, I'll buy it, I'll own it. I was like, I have to let somebody else run it. I was like, because I don't need that much more stuff. She goes, no, you won't. You'll be sitting there, you'll be at everything, trying to micromanage. I'm like, yeah, probably. So
yeah, like I said, I totally get it and I totally understand. I mean, like I said, I'm never satisfied, you know, with, you know, our production or, you know, this or that or whatever, you know, like, you know, people tell me all the time that we have one of the nicest and best looking rings or whatever. And it's like, nah, you know, I'm going to go get new aprons. I'm going to do this. I mean, I'm sure you're the same way, you know, where you get bells and whistles and trinkets or whatever to make your shop better or, you know, whatever, you know, it's just one of those things where you want to present yourself in the best possible manner and the most professional looking, the most, you know, you want to do all those sort of things. And, you know, and they don't realize, you know, what it costs to do it and present it in the right manner, all of that, you know. So I totally get it. I totally understand 100% where you're coming from on that, you know. But it is funny hearing you say that because I had flashbacks of, you know, when we had a ring and then I bought the new ring. And, you know, my wife was like, you already have a ring. What the hell are you doing? And I'm like, but it's smaller, honey. It's a 16 footer. We would need an 18 footer, you know? So I get it. You know what I mean? Like, it's funny just hearing someone else say that, you know, because it's just a mindset and an outlook, you know, about, like I said, you know, everybody I mean, I'm be honest. It's like I tell people, you know, like, you know, like in a man's world or whatever, you know, like my wife teases me all the time. She was all like, why do we need a 55-inch TV in our bedroom? You know, why do we need a 75-inch TV in our living room when we're, you know, 5 feet away? And I'm like, honey, it's what I want. You know, it's like, you know, it's just one of those things. The same way with a wrestling ring. It's like every man that's a man is going to be like, oh, honey, I would love to have a wrestling ring.
Well, that's like this.
I get it.
This whole room basically is my area. It's my stuff. It's like there's arcade cabinets back there. There's the big new TV over here. I'm a toy collector, so I just got tons of toys. There's comic books sitting everywhere. My older boys just moved out, so my wife's like, I'm taking the upstairs. I'm like, don't take it upstairs. I will take this and just turn this all into mine. Matter of fact, like this corner, I'm getting ready to redo the whole corner so that I can have my schedule up here for my podcast. Put shelves up here so I can have all my stuff ready to go. And she's like, she got mad at me today. She says, yeah, 1,000 things to do. I need to get something done. Now you got more stuff to do. I'm like, I know, sorry. But it keeps me busy. I gotta have something to do. So, but
Yeah, I'm the same way, man. Like I said, I've been doing the wrestling for 25 years, 18 years as a promoter, and it's like I don't know anything else right now as far as what keeps me busy and all that, my wife gets it now. I mean, 30 years later, she finally understands that, I have certain passions in life, and I'm gonna do it, and so yeah, I totally get where you're coming from, and the outlook and the mindset of it. So I get it.
All right. Now I'm gonna have to ask you some questions. Who's some of the people you have currently on your roster? Like on your wrestling roster?
We have Aaron Williams. You just spoke about Aaron Williams. We have guy like Matt Taylor. We use some guys out of Illinois area, Chicago area. Mojo McQueen, wrestles for us, Cody Jones, Paloma Starr, Shane Foster. We use some Detroit guys or whatever, that sort of thing or whatever. We use, like I said, we don't use too many locals. We don't really have that many locals around here anymore or whatever. Like when Al Snow had his school and stuff, there was quite a few, but since Al Snow doesn't have a school, he has had it for a long, long time.
Mm-hmm.
We mainly just use a lot of guys. I don't even want to say they're super indie guys or anything like that. Just guys that our fans can relate to or like or cheer or boo or whatever. We have our fan base is more costume and characters, more angles and storyline driven. That sort of thing or whatever, so that's kind of what we cater to. I mean, our champion is Mojo McQueen, and he spends a lot of money on his gear and all that. He looks the part, and he's got the mask, and our fans absolutely love him. Probably under any other circumstances, he'd be a bad guy in another promotion, but for whatever reason with our promotion, our fans absolutely love him.
Yep. Hold on a second. Fitch, turn down. Please, turn down. Sorry. But
you're all right.
Yeah, he's having a bad day today. He has autism, and if he has a bad day, it's a rough day. So he's kind of mellowing out today. So we're just all right. I know you.
I get it.
Yeah. Aaron Williams. I know Aaron. I've seen Matt wrestle off and on for years. Aaron, I really like him. That boy's a workhorse.
It's funny you say that because he knows I'll say this because I say it all the time. Aaron's probably one of the most underrated wrestlers that I've ever seen in the last 20 years. I don't know why he doesn't have a contract. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I don't know. I have no clue. I'm not the powers that be that makes those decisions or whatever up in the upper echelon promotions. Oh, yeah. But yeah, I mean, I tell people all the time, he could work a broomstick and main event any independent show in this area.
Exactly.
So I get it. I mean, he's absolutely one guy that I absolutely love. I love Aaron's work. He stood the test of time for a reason. He's a super nice guy outside of wrestling. So that makes him even better in my eyes. But yeah, I mean, Aaron Williams is the man. Like I said, Mojo McQueen. He's done some lucha stuff. Cody Jones done some lucha stuff or whatever. Mysterious Movado's done some lucha stuff. Like we just try to find guys that our fans can relate to. You know what I mean? Like I said, I'm not into the super indie guy, flavor of the month or whatever, who, is getting the viral likes or whatever. I want guys on our roster that the fans can relate to and that they can have an emotional connection to or whatever, because I'm an old school believer that emotions is what sells tickets. So yeah, I mean, like I said, we've been getting some girls. We've been getting some girls in. We got Zoe Sky, and we just used a new girl last night, Ari Alexander, who is actually down from that area. We use a girl named Skylar Orion. We use a new kid. He's been, I think he just had his 100th match last night. His name's Damian Chambers. He's probably going to be the real deal in a couple of years or whatever. He's very well-rounded. He's a very good-looking man. And, he's very humble right now, which I think, that'll help him a long way down the road. But yeah, man, we're all about trying to, just finding that niche guy, that niche wrestler or whatever that our fans like and they can relate to him.
Yeah, because it's when it comes down to it, it's all about relating. Because if you can't either love them or just hate them. You know, I've had so many, I mean, I hate to say this, is one of the reasons why I stopped watching WWE back in the day, well, not even back in the day, like a while back, is I couldn't relate to anybody in the ring anymore. You know, even the people that I liked before they came to WWE,
Yep.
I just was like, you know, I liked
Right.
Samoa Joe. I liked AJ Styles. I liked Seth Rollins when he was still Tyler Black and stuff like that. And then once they got there, you're just like, okay. I still think,
Well,
you know, some of these guys.
I was going to say,
go ahead.
Well, what I was going to say was, you know, you mentioned those three guys or whatever. I tell a lot of people that maybe don't necessarily know the inner workings of pro wrestling. You know, a lot of those guys have to adapt their style because they can't do it 3 or 4 nights a week. You have to understand, you know, but what I was going to say was you had mentioned Tyler Black and those guys or whatever, and Samoa Joe and all that. You know, I'll kind of give my perspective on that, being in the wrestling business or whatever. A lot of those guys can't work the style that they worked on the independents in the WWE because their bodies can't physically take it. You know, a lot of these guys, they have to adapt their style. And that's where, like, a lot of the super indie fans and, you know, the smart mark fans, whatever you want to call them, you know, they shit all over these guys when they get up there, but they have no clue. You know, I use an example. I'm more old school in my way of thinking or whatever, but I had a conversation with Brian Hildebrand, the Brian Pillman Memorial, and then Brian Hildebrand was the referee. And we did some shows. We did some shows with Les Thatcher back in the day and all that, and helped behind the scenes. And I actually had a conversation with Chris Benoit, Dean Malenko, and Eddie Guerrero at one of the events. And I remember Dean Malenko and them saying, like, they wrestled 189 out of 190 days. Now imagine wrestling that style that many times. You're going to have to adapt.
Oh, I know that. It's my whole thing with,
you know what I mean?
With like Samoa Joe was I'm not even talking about his wrestling. It was his persona, that the Samoan suplex machine, you know, the guy who is just tearing people apart and stuff like that. I love that. Hold on one second. Jeez, my kid.
Yeah, but I'll just say, but look at it. But look at it. Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Hold on one second. Yeah, what you need? Okay. All right. Hurry up. I'm making sausages and brats for dinner. All right. Okay. I'll talk to you in a bit. Love you, bud. Bye. My older kid that just moved out. Now he's okay.
He's like, hey, what's for dinner, Dad?
Yeah, exactly. He's coming home for dinner. I always tell my kids, I was like, I don't care how old you are, we always make enough food for everybody, so you can always come home for dinner. Always. So that one's getting hungry now.
Yep, I get it.
Yep.
Yeah, I totally get it. But you had mentioned Samoa Joe. I think in his case or whatever, I hate saying it because it paints me like I'm an asshole. But that dude, when he worked the Super Indies, when he got to the WWE, he was just a normal looking guy. You know what I mean? Like, nothing stood out about him. He's 5 foot. You know, he's 5'8" and 280 pounds or whatever. You know, the same way with Taz. You know, if you look at Taz back in the day with like ECW, they made him out to look like he was a monster. And then when he got to the WWE, he's 5'5". You know, so I think that's part of the thing where, you know, like you said, the persona and all of that or whatever. I just don't think, like, when those guys on the Super Indies and all that, when they get up to, you know, the WWE and work in that style, some of those guys just can't adapt, you know, to that style or the fan. I tell people all the time, like Bryan Danielson, for instance, you know, that dude is money in the ring. But if you take away that yes, yes, yes chant, that dude is vanilla as all get out. That dude is boring as hell. from an entertainment standpoint, but he adapted it to where he could do less in the ring because he didn't have to do all that crazy shit or whatever, because he can just do the yes, yes, yes chant, and he's going to be overdoing all that. You know what I mean? So it's just one of those things, where, some guys just can't adapt to that. Samoa Joe to me is definitely one of those guys that he got lost in the shuffle because he couldn't adapt. His style, his look, his whatever wasn't what the WWE fans wanted. Then you look at the opposite of that, where AJ Styles has become a major player because he's adapted his style, his persona, or whatever. That dude grinded out on the indies for freaking almost 20 years.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Before he made it, a lot of people don't understand that, and like I said, it really opened up my eyes having a conversation with some of those old school guys about them wrestling 189 out of 190 days, like the new generation, there's no way in hell, you know what I mean? And times have changed as far as like, the protocols and the headshots with chairs and all that crazy shit that we used to do, so I get it. You know what I mean? It's become more of a business. That's the one thing I tell a lot of these guys or whatever is those guys that get signed are an investment for those companies.
Yep.
They're an investment now. They don't want them grinding it out, wrestling in front of a house show in front of 2,000 people. You know what I mean? Like if they can get them to have a 20-year career in the WWE and they only wrestle once a week, that's more of an investment for the WWE instead of these guys killing themselves working a house show or whatever, and that's where a lot of the fans don't understand that aspect of it or whatever. They don't understand the business side of it, that, these guys are legit an investment, to AEW, even for instance, those guys are an investment now. They if you think about it, those guys are, even their ring style to me, some of those guys has changed even in being in AEW. Their style was changed away from what they did on the independent scene.
Yep. Well, what's funny is you're probably around my age. I just turned 47 this year. Been with my wife.
48.
Been with my wife since 93. We used to trying to explain to guys now, because now everything is, instantaneous. If I want to go look up matches from WAR, I can go on YouTube and pull them up. If I want to look up matches from WCW, whatever, I can pull them up. I was like, there was a day where you had to take a VHS tape and you go look at the back of wrestling magazines. If you were lucky, you could find other tape traders. The one guy I used to tape trade with, of all people, was Ox Baker up in Detroit. And it was funny because we just started talking, and he asked me where I was from, and he's like, oh yeah, that's the Sheik's territory, because I told him I was in Piqua. And I didn't know that was the bottom of the Sheik's territory was Piqua, because if you went Troy, that became that might have been whoever was in Memphis.
It was like Georgia Championship Wrestling.
Yeah.
And it was like the Dayton area was considered like Georgia Championship Wrestling.
Yeah. And I was like, man, this is Sheik's territory. We were in the Detroit territory. I'm like, man, we're in Piqua, Ohio, and we're in Detroit territory. And he started giving me tapes.
Lima.
Oh yeah.
Lima was the Sheik's territory. We had a place here in town called Panrec Arena. And my dad used to tell me, they had a guy here called Pompero Firpo and the Sheik and Dusty Rhodes and Dick Murdoch and all those guys, the Mighty Igor and all those guys. Yeah, they were a part of the Sheik's territory, even in Lima or whatever back in the day. And I think that's kind of something that's kind of lost to a degree, because I'll be honest with you, as well known as we are in this area, you get 200 miles away, 300 miles away, there's another promotion like us somewhere, you know what I mean? So, and that's like you had said about the instant gratification. I think that's the biggest thing that's hurting entertainment as a whole now, is people want that instantaneous payoff now. They don't want to wait for it, and it's all the way across the board. Social media has created the instant gratification. I actually call it the copy and paste industry or generation. And what I mean by that is a lot of these kids, a lot of the new generation, they can't form their own opinion and thoughts and ideas. So they just literally copy someone else's, and that's kind of, pro wrestling is the same way. You get you know, it makes me laugh now because, you know, everyone says AEW is the new hot thing and they're going to destroy the WWE and blah, 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 blah. To me, as being in the part of the business, I'm happy for any place that can pay these guys a living wage and they have a good time and they're doing something that they love to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not getting into no pissing contest that, oh my God, AEW is better and the WWE sucks and this and the other, you know, because guess what? It's competition. Competition makes us all better.
Yep. Well, what's funny is that a couple years back, I went on my anniversary to New Orleans, and like a handful of blocks away from the hotel we were staying at was wrestling. And my wife's sitting there, she's like, "Hey, do you want to see wrestling while we're in New Orleans?" I'm like, "You want to go see wrestling?
That's
you
so
don't
awesome.
normally want to go." And she's like, "It's literally just down the street. Tickets are only like $30. We're here. Let's go ahead." And I'm like, "All right, cool. I'll definitely go see wrestling." And went down there, had a blast with a bunch of guys I had never. Well, I can't say I'd never seen before. I'd seen some of the guys. Like Damien 666 was there, Bestia 666 was there, Daga. They were coming up from Mexico and Texas to wrestle in New Orleans, and I'm like, okay, I've seen these guys back in, you know, and then the rest of these guys were all new guys, and some of these guys, I'm just like, holy crap, why aren't you guys like? And now one of them I didn't know at the time until later. I found out who he was, and it was Luke Hawx. It was Wildcat promotion out of and now he's on Stars, he's on Heels and stuff like that, and he's a stunt man. I'm like, God dang. It was funny because I was leaving and I'm getting autographs and stuff, and these guys are like, "Oh, so where are you from?" I was like, "Dude, you're not gonna believe this." And they're like, "Where?" I was like, "We're from Ohio." And he goes, "You came from Ohio to see us?" I'm like, "No, wait a minute, hold on." We were in New Orleans and happened to see your wrestling.
You're like, I'm on vacation. My wife talked me into watching a pro wrestling show.
Yeah. And it was funny because like everybody, like the entire locker room came out to talk to us because they're like, holy shit, what's the wrestling like up there? And I'm like, dude, I would love to be able to take you guys and bring you up here and have you guys wrestle the guys from Ohio, because I thought it would have been awesome. But, you know, trying to get New Orleans guys and Ohio guys is never going to happen. But that's what I think is funny is that I've talked to my people at the shop all the time, because I haven't went and watched WWE on TV. Oh God, I'm trying to remember. I can't remember how long ago it has been since I've watched them on TV, because I stopped watching them before the pandemic. But I will go see them live. Any like their little house shows or whatever, because I love live wrestling. Even if I'm not watching the product, I will go see the live wrestling, because there's something about it that you cannot get watching TV. So, and
I agree. I you know, and it's funny that you say that, because I just had this conversation yesterday with a couple of the guys that are on our shows. You know, I'm totally the opposite in my way of thinking of the majority of the crowd. To me, the more wrestling that's on TV that the fans can watch for free actually hurts people going to the live shows, because they can say, hey, I can go Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday and sit the hell at my recliner and drink a beer and watch free wrestling. You know, so why would I want to get out of my house or whatever and pay $20 a ticket or whatever and get out of my house and go watch pro wrestling? You know, a lot of people don't think that way. They think of it as, well, the more wrestling that's on TV, the more it's, you know, good for the business. And I totally think the opposite of that. I think the more promotions that are running, the more people that are watching it on TV, it hurts the live crowd. It truly does. You know, maybe I'm in the norm, in the minority in that way of thinking, but I'm more of it as you know, when I started, you know, people don't realize this. When I started 25 years ago, there was literally like 5 promotions in the whole state of Ohio that ran consistent shows that, you know, was quote unquote a territory type thing. Now Ohio has 40 plus. You know, and then they wonder why, you know, they're only drawing 50, 75, 100 people or whatever. Well, we've watered down the product. We've watered down the talent pool. You know, Johnny Come Lately and his wife or whatever, you know, they can sit at home now and watch, you know, Next, Ring of Honor, MLW, AEW, WWE, Impact. They can watch all those promotions at home for something that they're already paying, because they're already paying for the cable bill. So now they can sit at home and watch every single one of those promotions for free.
Yep.
So why are they going to spend the money and get up the hell out of their house, especially during these times? Yeah. You know, why are they going to spend their hard-earned money or whatever on it? You know, I don't know. I mean, what is your take on that? I mean, you're in the entertainment part of it too. I mean, what do you think your take is on that?
I think that a lot of people are. I agree with you. I think that it is hurting, but I see a lot of people now that would have never went to a wrestling show are now going to wrestling shows. So I don't know if it's going to swing back the other way now, but I can see it being too watered down, like you said. But I am seeing a slow upswing in people who just are right. You know, watching or just getting into wrestling and now going to live events. So I'm hoping that will come back over right. The people that are just getting lazy and sitting at home. So, but
yeah, I mean, it's you know, it's one of those things where you just don't know. You know, I had this conversation with I have a PR girl that works for me, Amanda, and me and her was talking about this last night. You know, it's like I could drop $20,000 on radio and TV and this and the other advertising our shows or whatever, but that doesn't guarantee that we're going to draw those fans.
No,
you know what I mean? Like, we're just in a different mindset, a different type of, you know, and like I said, I might be in the minority in my way of thinking about too much wrestling on TV. You know what I mean? You know, I mean, no offense to anybody, but there's a reason why there's only technically, you know, a few years ago, there was only football on Monday night and Sunday.
Yep. You don't want to,
you know, there wasn't football on every single night of the week. Yep. Right. You know, I mean, you know, I tell people that all the time. I'm like, you can literally sit at home now, and I don't watch a lot of the modern wrestling, but I'm almost positive there's wrestling on TV every night of the week now.
Yeah, I think so, because I'm pretty sure that if not, if Friday or Saturday might be the only night that I can think of that there's not something on, but then there probably is something on. So, because I know you got all week long from Monday through Friday, there's definitely something going on, and there's almost always a pay-per-view on Sunday. So right. You might have a Saturday where there's nothing on. So, but that's not even saying it.
Well, see, and that's the thing too, is like Impact. Yeah, I was gonna say Impact and AEW, they've been running their pay-per-views on Saturdays.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't blame them though, because that's hard.
You know, so yeah, and if you include that into the mix, and then you include, like, say, WWE on a Sunday, yeah, I mean, it's pretty much every night of the week or whatever. There's professional wrestling on TV.
Yep. So, all right, man. Well, I've got to tie this up. I got more stuff going on here than I thought today.
Absolutely.
Sorry about that.
It's all good, man. Like I said, I'm very, very fortunate or whatever that you asked me to do it. And man, anytime, you know, you want to hit up a show or whatever, if you get the time to do it, absolutely shoot me a message or whatever. And you're always welcome to come up to one of our shows.
Cool. And I would love to have you back on, because I do have some more people that some other wrestling fans that want to talk to. Yep. We just had some issues come up this week. So we're gonna work that out. But yeah, definitely. And I will get a hold of
whatever
you.
You need. What I was gonna say. Yep. Whatever you need for me is. Sounds good.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate it.
All right, man. Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thanks, Thomas. Have a good one.
Talk to you later.